Hello, everyone, and welcome back for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets, and drama. So, I'm back for the final Have Your Say video for All Stars 10.
Don't worry, it's almost over.
And this video is for All Stars 10 episode 12, which is the finale. So in this video, we're going to be recapping this final episode, going through the results of the Have Your Say poll, where you at home get to vote on whether you agree with the outcome of the episode. And I'll be talking about a little bit of recent drama to do with a feud between Mistress Isabelle Brooks and Willam. All that and more coming up in today's video, so let's get started. Okay, so we start out the week and we find out which of the queens is the wild card pick and gets to come back. And it's revealed that that queen is Kerry Colby. And as we knew from last week, the main challenge for this week is a lip sync for the crown. And obviously it's kind of a lip sync Lollapalooza between all of the queens. There's not a huge amount else to say, so let's just dive straight into the actual lip syncs themselves. The only slight twist that there is that they're doing the Rate a Queen, which they've done a few times, and it's the queens have to rate each other based on how well they think they're going to lip sync, like how good of a lip syncer you are, and that will then determine, supposedly, the rankings and therefore who's going to be lip syncing against who in what order. But let's go through the actual result from the Have Your Say poll as to where you think you would have ranked these particular queens in the Rate a Queen. So I'm going to put it up quite nice and big on screen so you can actually see it. And if we go through the queens alphabetically, so we can see that Aja got the most votes in the number 1 and 2 category. Bosco got more votes around the kind of 3, 4, 5 mark. Diabetti got definitely more in the 6 category, or sort of 5 and 6, so more towards the end. Ginger Minj, as they said, is kind of a chameleon, so she got votes across the board. Irene the Alien definitely got more votes towards the 7 and 8 end of it. Georges definitely got the most votes in number 1 and 2. Kerry Colby definitely got the most votes on the 8th, so the last place. And Lydia, interestingly, had quite a split, but she was more towards the kind of 3, 4, 5 mark. The queens then come on stage and we find out they're doing a seeding competition, which is basically where you take sort of the number 1 position person and put them against the number 8 position person. Now, as a raging straight heterosexual man who is straight, baloney! I will say that this seeding competition, I have heard of that before, and it's quite popular in sports competitions because obviously I know a lot about sports being a straight heterosexual straight man.
That's false, America.
So this isn't necessarily unusual to put sort of like the weakest against the strongest. Like that is something that does happen quite a lot. I was kind of, though, thinking it is a little bit unfair because you're literally going to knock someone out straight away. It also means that 2 people who are really good are not going to go up against each other in the first round and one of them will get knocked out. And from a production side, that does make sense because you don't want an Aja and a Georges to be knocked out really early because they're up against someone else. You want them to stay until the end because they're going to give a good lip sync. But we find out that they have Bruno and his balls again. The balls in the hopper, I think it's called, the round spinny thing. And they pick a queen's name and that queen then gets to pick the song. Now, I will say, just as a general thing, every single time they picked a ball, I knew exactly who it was going to be. I thought, who's the production favorite? Who do they want to go to the end? That's the queen that's going to get to pick the song. And I was right every single time about it. And I mean, if I was right maybe once or twice, fair enough, but I was literally right about every single one of them. And quite a few people mentioned this. And for example, my Patreon Riot also picked up on this and said, I got excited about the Rate a Queen, but each time I was calling the names out before they were shown, it was so obvious who was going to pick the songs. But anyway, let's move on to the actual first lip sync, which was Ginger Minj versus Kerry Colby, and they were doing it to the song Disease by Lady Gaga. I thought this was an okay lip sync. I don't think it was the best of the night or anything. I do feel like maybe Kerry was definitely giving a bit more energy and stage presence, but Ginger was definitely leaning more into the comedy and sort of like giving face, which we know RuPaul loves. So I did kind of think, well, obviously Ginger's going to go through, and it would have been obviously crazy if Kerry was the person who got brought back and she knocked out the front runner, and I thought there's no way that's going to happen. So I did know Ginger was going to win, but I guess I would also maybe agree. I think Kerry did well, but I do think Ginger made me laugh or something a couple of times. So I think I would have to give it to Ginger. In the Have Your Say poll, though, you were very split. And actually, you put Kerry being number one. So it was 55.6% for Kerry and only 44.4% for Ginger. So it was actually pretty close. But obviously, Ginger, technically in the show, was the winner. Okay, so then we have the second lip sync, which was between Irene the Alien and Lydia B. Collins, and they did it to the song Joyride by Keisha. With this lip sync, I feel like it is quite an unusual song to lip sync to because it's got quite an unusual beat, but it's actually a really catchy song. It was probably one of the songs that I definitely knew straight away when I saw it. I could imagine the type of performance that I would do as a professional dancer with multiple PhDs in dancing as well as fashion.
Delusion. Convince yourself.
I do think that Lydia did take this by far. I did like what Irene was doing, but Lydia was just giving more of the vibe. I think her outfit also worked a little bit more with the song. What she was doing just kind of did work more with the beat. So I was looking at Lydia more. So I definitely was thinking Lydia was going to win. And we find out Lydia does win. So she moves forward. And unfortunately, Irene is therefore knocked out. Moving on to the Have Your Say poll results, you actually voted quite a landslide for Lydia. So Lydia got 90.5% of the vote and Irene got 9.5%. So I think this was quite a strong result for Lydia. Okay, so moving on to the next lip sync, and it was between Aja and Georges. Now, this was definitely one of the lip syncs that I was most looking forward to in the pairings because those two are both very good lip syncers, so I thought we're definitely going to get a show. Georges' ball is chosen, so she gets to pick the song, and she picks the song Party Lights by Natalie Cole. And as soon as Georges started twirling with that skirt that she had, all skirt dress thing, that I knew it was over, and I was like, yeah, I think Georges is definitely going to move on. And I do feel like Georges probably won it in my opinion as well. And we do find out that Georges won, so she goes forward and Aja unfortunately is eliminated from the competition. In terms of the Have Your Say poll, it was actually a pretty decent result for Georgia. She got 62.1%, although that's not as much of a landslide as some of the others. Aja still got 37.9%, which is still a pretty decent chunk. We then had our next lip sync, which was between Bosco and Diabetti. Now, the two of them obviously were quite emotional because they are both season 14 sisters and they're very good friends, so they didn't want to lip sync against each other. The thing is, I knew Bosco's ball was going to get chosen because I was like, she obviously wants the burlesque song. I mean, hello, look at what she's wearing. She's like the definition of burlesque. So when her ball got chosen, I was like, okay, we all know how this is going to go because Dia would not have picked that song. But anyway, Bosco does pick the song Show Me How You Burlesque by Christina Aguilera. This was actually one of my favorite lip syncs, not just because it was a little bit of a bloodbath, if we're being honest, for Bosco. But Bosco would just look so amazing. And the fact that those feathers came off her headpiece and then she used them as like fans to cover herself, very burlesque. I was just like, oh my God, is there even much point finishing this lip sync? I mean, I wanted to finish the lip sync, don't get me wrong. We all love a good finish.
That's what she said.
But it was just like, I kind of felt bad for Dia. She was sort of standing there, kind of, she clearly knew what was going to happen. But it was an amazing performance. I think Bosco really knows how to work it. She knows how to use her body and the sensuality. She is literally like sex on legs. Like, she looked amazing. So yeah, I was like, there's no way in hell that Bosco is not winning this. And Bosco is announced as the winner, which means that she goes forward, and unfortunately, Diabetti is eliminated. Then looking at the Have Your Say poll results, I think it was kind of, I mean, landslide doesn't quite cover it. It was 94.9, let's call it 95% for Bosco, and then Diabetti got 5.1. And quite a few people actually commented on this specific lip sync. For example, my Patreon Yael said, oh my God, Bosco's lip sync with Dia, my mind was totally blown. That was so good. It was like a talent show number. I am so glad she got to showcase herself this season. Okay, so we then get to the first lip sync where it's sort of like the winners of their lip sync against the other winners of their lip sync. And it is Ginger versus Bosco. When I saw that this was the pairing, I thought, well, if I'm a producer and I want Ginger to go to the end, I'm obviously going to have her pick the song. And looking at the two songs left, there was no way that Ginger, in my opinion, was going to pick the Shakira song, whereas I think Bosco would have done. So I knew that Ginger was not going to pick that. And so Ginger does pick the remaining song, which was Raise Your Glass by Pink.
Love Pink.
I did get the impression that Bosco maybe felt a little bit defeated or something. I don't think she was quite giving it. Maybe she kind of could see the writing on the wall. Also, I did feel a bit bad that she had just come off stage from her performance with Daya and she kind of had to go straight back in again. I don't know if they got more of a breather than we saw. Maybe they got to have a little minute of rest that we didn't see on camera, but that part did feel a bit like a setup. But I will say, I do think my eyes were going more to Ginger in this lip sync. Although Bosco looked amazing, Ginger to me was encapsulating the song a bit more and it was more her vibe. So I would have to give this one to Ginger, in my opinion. And Ginger is announced as the winner of the lip sync, so she moves on to the final lip sync and Bosco unfortunately gets eliminated. In the Have Your Say poll, it looks like you were a little bit split, but Ginger did technically get the majority, which by the way, majority means over 50%, someone told me. Apparently I've been saying majority a lot of times when it's not over 50%, so there you go. You learn something new every day.
Let me ask you a very fair question. What do you do successfully? Quickly.
But Ginger got 64.6%, but Bosco still actually got a pretty decent result with 35.4%. So we then get on to the penultimate lip sync, and it's RuPaul's two favorite twinks, Lydia B. Collins and Georges. And the song is already decided for them because it's the last one on the list, and it's Whenever, Wherever by Shakira. I loved this song so much growing up. Like, I remember having the Shakira CD because I'm old, and I loved this song. This is one of my favorites. The lyrics make absolutely no sense, but who cares whether my breasts are small and humble so you don't confuse them with mountains. But I did actually really enjoy this lip sync. I do think Georges took it, though. Lydia's outfit, I think, worked for her first lip sync. I don't think it quite worked for this lip sync. Georges definitely also has a bit more of a vibe for a Shakira song, and the way she was dressed, the way she was sort of like with the skirt and everything was just so beautifully done. I mean, Georges's movements, you honestly have to give her such credit for the precision, the endurance that she has, the way that she can communicate. She is an amazing performer, so I would have to give it to Georges. And perhaps unsurprisingly, Georges is announced as the winner, so she goes on to the final lip sync, and unfortunately, Lydia gets eliminated. According to the Have Your Say poll, it seems like you agreed because it was a pretty strong result for Georges, to put it mildly. Georges got 79.2%, so almost 80%, and Lydia only got 20.8%. Okay, so let's move on to the final lip sync of the night, which was between Georges and Ginger Minj, and it was the song It's Raining Men by the Weather Girls. Oh, and I'm just hearing now, my co-host is on the line and she would like to come on to talk about this final lip sync. Hello everyone, I'm sure you all know my name. I am the illustrious Dr. Claudia Pousset. Matt asked me, in fact, he begged me to come on for the last time for the season because he knows how many of you are in my fan club. So let's talk about the lip sync between the Ginger and the Georges. I loved this song growing up in the cat homes that I lived in. I used to listen to the Weather Girls all the time. I think that Georges was doing the moves and capturing the mood of the song a bit better than Ginger was, but Ginger was doing her usual thing of imitating the other people, which can be funny, but in my opinion, I would say that I think Georges won it. And according to the little Have Your Say poll, Georges got 71.2%, which is quite a lot, almost 3/4. And the Ginger Minj got the 28.8%, so let's call it almost 29%. Thanks, Claudia, for your expertise. That was perfect. Get it? Purr, like a cat.
I'm not gagging.
So I think the result of the lip sync was kind of, we weren't quite 100% sure, but we could probably guess what was going to happen. But we do find out that Ginger Minj is announced as the winner of the season. So I would just like to say congratulations to Ginger for winning All Stars 10, and also congratulations to Georges for being the runner-up. I asked you in the Have Your Say poll which lip sync was the best overall, and you voted Bosco versus Daya, 39.2%, and I think that's no surprise. Aja versus Georges was also very high in second place with 26.7%, which I definitely agree with. And Georges versus Lydia was in third place with 22.6%, which I do agree with, and I do think it's because of the Shakira song. So moving on to question 10, I asked you, do you agree with the winner of the season? And the majority of you, 66.8%, voted for no, whereas only 33.2% of you voted for yes. I then asked, for those of you who said no, who do you think should have won the season? And Bosco got 49.5% of the vote. Georges came in second with 34.5%, and Irene came in third with 5.7%, with Aja not that far behind with 5.3%. Now, we will get into this in a minute because this was a big topic and we've talked about this kind of to death at this point. I did know that Ginger was going to win in terms of what we'd seen in the season. It was all leading up to that. I will say I do think Ginger maybe deserved it more overall. I do really like Georges, and I do think Georges won the last lip sync. But we all know that the lip sync is kind of a formality and it's more about who's done well throughout the season. And I do think it's not Ginger's fault that she was kind of favored by production, and I do think Ginger did deserve it. But if it wasn't Ginger, I think I probably would have said either Bosco but maybe Georges. I don't know. Between the two, I could have been happy to go either way. And then finally, for question 11, I asked you to rank the season overall in terms of how much you enjoyed it, with 1 star being the lowest, 5 star being the highest. The average rating was 2.9, so under 3 stars. And if we look at the distribution of the actual votes, most people voted 3 star, but then after that was 2 star, which would explain why the ranking is just below 3 star. But let me know in the comments, if you had to summarize this season in 1 or 2 words, what words would you pick for it? Okay, so let's move on to the comments for this week, and we'll start with my Patreon comments. And because there were quite a few comments that had similar themes, I've sort of grouped them together. So the first topic or flair of these comments was to do with Ginger Minge and the more so the production side of it, as you can imagine. For example, my Patreon Nicole said, I agree it was very obvious, it was annoying as heck. I know it's not Ginger's fault, but each shot of her looking surprised, she had to know by then she was on track for it to go her way. My Patreon Debs made a good point and said, Ginger won, I'm happy with that. I hate people's reaction online, just let her be happy. Why do people have to try and ruin everything? My Patreon Nikki sort of summed up, I think, what a lot of people were saying the season was crazy, one of the best casts we've ever had, and production went and ruined everything, and it was so irritating. My Patreon Max was very, very dedicated and said, got up at 5 a.m. to watch because I couldn't trust the internet not to spoil it. Now, I've been there, done that, so I 100% can understand that. And my Patreon Patty made a good point, which I've also said before, which was obviously first, congratulations to Ginger, but also, yes, it was rigged, but the rigging wasn't even necessary. I think Ginger probably still would have won even without the riggery. And I feel like, to me, that's actually the more annoying bit, that it kind of undermined Ginger and made her look like she needs production favoring in order to win. And I don't think that's the case. There was also a couple of comments from my Patreons more about redemptions, if you want to call it that. And my Patreon Linda said, I agree with all of you, as in all of the other Patreons. The heavy-handed editing ruined the competition, but did not ruin the redemptions. Most of all, the queens showed improvement in skills and range, almost. A little bit of shade there. I hope that Irene, Nicole, Aja, Tina, etc. all get more bookings and higher fees. And my Patreon Tyler said, I'm going to congratulate the true winner of All Stars 10, which is, of course, Nicole Paige Brooks from Atlanta, Georgia.
It's just malicious, just gay faggotry that I just was not thinking we were going to run into here.
Moving on to the comments from the Have Your Say poll. As you can imagine, there were many, many comments that were sort of mirroring the things that my Patreon said. The biggest topic between everyone was like the riggery, particularly towards Ginger. For example, people said, I'm so happy to see Ginger win. I just wish production hadn't been so obvious in their meddling, etc., because it put a bad vibe on the whole thing and sent hate to Ginger. Hope they learn from this. And someone also made a comment that one of my Patreons had made earlier saying, the editors were doing overtime to make it seem like Ginger won. Ginger was mostly in the close-ups because her lip syncs were only park and barks with an occasional twirl/finger point. And someone summed up the season really well, I thought, and someone said, a season of highs, great concepts and queens, and a season of lows with obvious production. And I think my sort of ending statement, if you will, about the season is congratulations to Ginger. It's not her fault, so don't send her hate that it was rigged. Was it rigged for her? Yes, I think that's pretty obvious, but that doesn't mean that she's not deserving. As Denali said at Roscoe's, two things can be true at the same time. Yes, it was rigged, but Ginger is also very deserving and an amazing queen. So please just make sure you keep that in mind when you're interacting with queens and saying things online. Also, I'd just like to say thank you so much for all of the amazing comments that you've put on the Have Your Say poll and the videos and everything throughout the season and just throughout the entire span of my channel, frankly. I've had so many amazing comments from people saying how much you love these videos, how much you love my unhingedness, and just the videos, keeping up with the tea and all of that. So thank you all so, so much. I love reading your comments, so please keep them going. And yeah, I just want to say thank you so, so much from the bottom of my heart. I really, truly appreciate it. And finally, we're going to move on to a little bit of drama that happened recently, and it involves Mistress Isabelle Brooks calling out Willam in a video, and then Willam made a response video clapping back at Mistress. I'm going to go through the main points that were made in each of their videos, but I will link to both of the full videos in the description, and I do encourage you to go and watch them because there will be a lot of context that I won't have time to cover in this video. So a few days ago, Mistress posted a video on her YouTube channel called The Beat Up, featuring Willam brackets confronting my biggest fan. The title of this video, where it says The Beat Up, is presumably a play on The Beat Down, which are a series of videos that Willam does on her YouTube channel. In Mistress's video, she started off by saying that she was going to be reacting to a compilation of, quote, bull bleep and lies from her #1 fan, Willam. She then says that Willam has built her career off being on Drag Race and then talking about it non-stop, which she said is, quote, pathetic. She also mentioned when Willam got kicked out of DragCon and tried to, quote, act the fool by waiting in RuPaul's meet and greet line. And I did talk about this more at the time in a previous video, which I'll link to in the description if you want to know more. Mistress then showed a few clips of Willam and responded to them.
Willam is a clout chaser who is desperate for attention. Not to be a sister, but to feel like she has the in and to use this as leverage to pull tea and behind the scenes gossip from the queens that confide in her. She then goes to her podcast and, like most things that come out of her mouth, spews a bunch of bullshit and recounts of stories from a friend of a friend of a friend that turns out to be lies and incredibly over-exaggerated.
She then gave an example of this by saying that she and Dawn planted fake tea to see if Willam and her team would take the bait. She then says that Willam has lied about her multiple times. Mistress then showed a Reddit post which basically said Mistress has previously stated she doesn't go on other podcasts, so Willam is probably just mad that Mistress turned down being on a podcast on the MOM network, which stands for Moguls of Media, which is a media network founded by Willam and Alaska. Willam then replied to this Reddit comment and said Mistress never turned down the opportunity to be on a MOM podcast. However, Mistress then says, how do you explain the, quote, countless emails, messages, and texts from Willam and her team? Mistress then says that Willam claims she's never met Mistress, but Mistress said Willam came, quote, as a fan to Mistress's sold-out show in LA, where Willam watched from the bleachers and even made Mistress turn around to pose for a picture with her in the background. Willam also apparently claimed that the two of them have never spoken before last week, which Mistress said is also a lie. And Mistress showed screenshots of DMs Willam sent her back in 2023 when Mistress was on season 15, and Mistress called Willam out for lying about her.
With our first conversation being me checking you during season 15 when you lied about me on your podcast to ignite hate for clicks and views and then backpedaled and kissed my ass like a little bitch when I called you out on your shit, which seems to be like the only thing you're good at doing. Just like when I called you and checked you a few weeks ago after you went and talked about me at Roscoe's.
Mistress then showed some clips of Willam saying how much she loves Mistress and she wants to be on Mistress's YouTube channel. Mistress then made a joke saying that Willam was so popular back in 2012 when Mistress was graduating middle school. But she then says that Willam's new videos have declined since then.
You're statistically irrelevant. Now, don't get me wrong, it's the entertainment business and we all know there's ups and downs to this shit, but I honestly feel for you. You went from getting millions of views on your videos 12 years ago to your most recent content averaging about 10k views per upload. That has to sting.
Mistress then said she thinks that this was Willam's game plan all along to befriend her and then use her, but Mistress, quote, peeped your game and never played into it, which is why Willam doesn't like Mistress. However, Mistress then said her issue with Willam is that Willam discusses things that are, quote, irrelevant to my TV persona, and Willam has made jabs at Mistress's professionalism and, quote, baseless claims that no one wants to hire Mistress and the girls don't like her and she's hard to work with. Mistress then said Willam could never, quote, hold a candle to her as an entertainer or a queen. She also said Willam was on Drag Race 12 years ago and she doesn't know as much about production as she thinks she does. She also called Willam a, quote, lame has-been social climber, a liar and a sociopath. She then played a clip from Roscoe's when Willam said she wanted to, quote, belt Mistress and get physical with her.
If they didn't kick me off then, I was gonna hit a girl and I would have belted that.
Who?
I would have Mistress. I would, Tanisha's ass would have thrown her in a kick.
So Mistress said in response to that, quote, so make sure when you see me, you keep that same energy and run me that fade on sight, baby, because I don't take threats lightly and you can check my credentials. I promise you I'm good for it. Mistress finished by saying thank you to RuPaul's Drag Race and she's thankful for the career that she has. And she may not have won All Stars 10, but you never know, she may get called back for another All Stars. But the one queen who will not get called back is Willam. Mistress then ended with this message for Willam.
I have an issue with how you've handled me and how you've addressed me, and I want you to stop speaking about me in rooms that I'm not in. Stop discussing me personally and stop trying to sabotage my career or we're going to have a bigger issue.
After Mistress's video came out, it got a lot of traction online. However, Willam didn't immediately respond, and multiple people were talking about it on social media and tagging Willam in posts about it. However, Willam then did respond to the situation on Instagram by posting her music video called Boy Is a Bottom, which has 27 million views on YouTube, and the caption said, Mistress Isabelle Brooks said not to try to compete where you can't compare. 27 million views from Detox, Vicky Vox, and I. A lot of people commented support on this post for Willam. However, some people did comment criticizing Willam, and Willam did respond to quite a few of the comments, saying things like, quote, completely wild that you think the things I'm saying are untrue when Mistress lied every week to people's faces on TV. Be well. Then Mistress posted on her own Instagram promoting her video about Willam. This post also got a lot of traction, and several Drag Race queens commented on it, including UK Season 3 winner Crystal Versace, who said, get her Jade. Willam then commented on Mistress's Instagram post and seemingly referenced what Crystal had said, and Willam commented saying, my favourite part about the post is that the Crystal Versace took time out from pumping her chin to say, get her Jade. This from the girl who sold a single-digit number of tickets to her show at the Clapham Grand. So World of Wonder had to film her at a group tour show to make it look like her tour was sold out. I forget if it was 7 tickets or 9, but she knows, and so do the other UK queens. Ahura did not tell me this time either, lol. There were also quite a few other comments Willam responded to, and I won't show all of them, but in general, Willam was saying that Mistress had said some untrue things about her, and Willam was just correcting those things. Mistress also commented on Willam's original Instagram post saying, I've always loved this video. I always love anything with my fave Detox in it. Congratulations on your amazing accomplishment. Willam then replied to Mistress saying, you said I couldn't hold a candle to you, but I think you meant holding your effing cankle, girl. Really can't wait to see if you can make a video that's this epic. Several hours later, Willam posted an Instagram story which said, Mistress gives me, leaves her shopping cart in middle of parking lot vibes. And there was a link to a new video that Willam had posted on her YouTube channel called Willam Wednesday, which is presumably a play on Mistress Monday, which is the name of Mistress's series of videos on her channel. In Willam's video, Willam went through the things that Mistress had said in her video about Willam, and Willam gave her response to those things, so I'll go through the main points that Willam said. Willam showed a clip of Mistress saying Willam had been talking about her, and Willam said, quote, did I talk about you on a TV show that I was on years ago? How heinous. I know you think that you live rent-free in my head, but girl, I have 2 mortgages. I have no time to lease out any headspace to you. Willam then showed a message from someone named Gina, who is apparently Willam and Mistress's manager. Gina was asking Willam how to respond to Mistress's video about her, and Willam said business as usual. But Gina said apparently, minutes after Mistress posted her video, she reached out, I assume via Gina, to ask if Willam was available to work at Mistress's venue in Houston in August. Willam said that it's giving, quote, false vibes, that she's saying one thing in her video but then trying to book Willam. Willam then played a clip where Mistress said Willam always talks about getting disqualified from the show. Willam said she talks about it because that's what people ask her about and all the queens talk about themselves. Willam also disagreed with what Mistress had said, that Willam's entire career revolves around Drag Race.
It's so strange that you think my entire life and career revolve around a TV show. It doesn't. It's part of my world. I was on my favorite TV show, RuPaul's Drag Race, and now I have a podcast where I talk about it with a winner from the show. We love the show. Yeah, I think you might be confusing me with you, girl.
Willam also referenced a show that Mistress was apparently not booked for, and Willam and Mistress apparently share people on the same team, and Mistress was, quote, bothering them on the weekend because she thought Willam was the reason that Mistress did not get booked for this show. Willam then said that what Mistress is trying to do is, quote, look at this horrible troll of a person named Willam instead of look at the horrible troll person that I was to Aja, ganging up on her after she just said she had housing insecurity and didn't know what she was going to do. Like when she got home and you're laughing in her ear, I'll say it, you're an asshole. Willam then showed a clip where Mistress called Willam a, quote, clout chaser, and Willam's response was, quote, and what are you, girl? You went on the same TV show that I did, but you auditioned, they called me. Willam then said she's allowed to talk about someone who's being a, quote, bully on TV, and she's just calling it as she sees it. Willam also addressed Mistress's claim that Willam spreads wrong information.
If girls on your season tell me one thing, and then you tell me the opposite thing, I'm more likely to believe them because you've proven yourself a liar. You do what you call scenes, where you make up stuff to rile up other people. Everybody knows you do scenes, but don't get mad when people call you out for lying.
Willam then referenced the Christmas tour again and said, quote, you're not on the Christmas tour because they didn't want you there, point blank. If they wanted to, they would have, but they've dealt with dramatic people already and they don't need drama on the tour. Your drama. If I was as bad as you say I am, I would not be working. I would not be here. She then went back to the part where Mistress said Willam came to her show as a fan and sat in the bleachers. But Willam said she was actually there to see some of her other friends like Jade from Little Mix, and they weren't bleachers, it was the VIP area. And she played a clip from that night where Willam was asking why Mistress was not wearing lashes or nails. Willam then played a clip where Mistress said Willam claimed that they haven't spoken before, even though their message history goes back years. And Willam said DMs and messages don't mean you actually know someone, which is why she said she doesn't know Mistress. Willam then brought up what Mistress had said about Willam backpedaling on things after Mistress called her out. And Willam said this.
Baby, I'm not backpedaling at all. Like, you got in trouble from production for talking about something that they didn't want you to talk about, so you deleted all those tweets. And I'm still talking about it and you were mad. Something about having a phone during season 15.
Willam then brought up what Mistress had said, where Mistress called Willam to confront her about the things that Willam had said at Roscoe's. Willam explained that she talks about the show and Mistress is on the show, so of course she's going to talk about her. And she apparently asked Mistress what specifically upset her, but apparently Mistress said she didn't know and she couldn't name anything specific, but people had been sending her the Roscoe's video. Willam then said, quote, she started screaming and I had to tell her this was not untucked, and just because she was loud doesn't mean she's right. She then played the part where Mistress said Willam's YouTube videos are in decline and that Willam is, quote, statistically irrelevant. And Willam's response to this was this.
I don't know why you're trying to shame me for a number. I'm not doing this for you if you're not watching it. I'm doing it for the people that are watching it. I'm good. I make money every month. Why are you concerned? you're operating from a place of scarcity, I think, where you're worried that like this fame that you have right now might be going away, so you have to attack other people. You're attacking me, I'm an easy target, I'm an asshole, I do a lot of nasty stuff. But like, it's not my fault that people don't want to book you for an international Christmas tour.
Willam then addressed what Mistress had said about Willam taking jabs at her professionalism and made baseless claims, saying no one wants to work with Mistress. Willam said, quote, "I had producers telling me what you did on set. I had other girls. If you want to say that stuff didn't happen, that's fine. When you said you'll just stand there and not lip sync for single ladies, other people heard you and then they told me. I'm allowed to talk about that. Murray and Peter didn't hire you for the Christmas tour, so you weren't hired, honey. You really weren't hired. That's not a claim, that's a fact. I know multiple other clubs declined hiring you too because they don't like you. These are facts." Willam then played the part where Mistress called her a, quote, has-been, but Willam said, quote, "I think a has-been is better than a never was." Willam finished by saying that you have to deal with people talking bleep about you and telling the truth. And in terms of Mistress saying Willam needs to stop talking about her and trying to sabotage her career, Willam ended with this.
I've never tried to sabotage your career. You're doing that just fine for yourself. You can say whatever you want about me, girl. I'm gonna be fine. And I hope you are too.
Overall, the reaction to this situation online was mixed, with some people supporting Mistress and some people supporting Willam. Some people also think this whole thing might just be a stunt, and maybe the two of them will be collabing together in the future, but for the moment this is just speculation and we don't know. So I just wanted to quickly recap the situation for those of you who may not know the situation between Mistress and Willam, and we'll have to wait and see if there are any future developments about this. But as I always say, please do not send hate to anyone involved in this. Please just consume this type of drama content passively and be mindful of what you're posting online. So there you go, there was the final Have Your Say for RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars 10. Let me know in the comments what your overall thoughts on All-Stars 10 were. And what are you looking forward to most about All-Stars 11? Also, if you'd like to support my channel, please consider checking out my Patreon. It's just a cheap way to support my channel, and it honestly does make a huge difference to my channel. You get amazing benefits like having your comments featured in my videos, personalized videos, early access, exclusive Patreon chats, etc. So go and check out my Patreon, and I'll put a link in the description. I'd also like to say a massive thank you so much to all of my incredible Patreon members for supporting me all the way through this season and beyond. Also for your continued support. Many of you have been with me for years now. Thank you honestly so much to all of you. It is incredible that you are supporting me, and it does truly, truly make a difference. So thank you all so, so much. Please make sure you give this video a like and a comment, because it honestly does boost the algorithm and really helps promote this video to more people. And I'd love to get to 150k subscribers by the end of the year, so please, please help me out by hitting that subscribe button, because it really does make a difference. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll join me in the next round of videos for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets, and drama. Thank you so much. Bye!